If you've ever wished you had a podcasting pro with nearly a decade of experience whispering growth secrets into your ear, that's exactly what you'll get when you tune into Podcast Growth Tools with me, your host, Kylie Chandler. This is the ultimate show for you if you're ready to grow your podcast audience, skyrocket engagement, and turn your show into a traffic-driving, list-building powerhouse. I've been in the podcasting world since 2015, helping creators like Amy Porterfield grow their shows to over 1 million downloads a month. My superpower? Breaking down proven podcast strategies and marketing techniques into step-by-step guidance you can actually implement without fluff, overwhelm, or guesswork. On this show, we're getting real about what actually moves the needle when it comes to growing your podcast audience and using it to boost your email list growth. From actionable insights and expert interviews to behind-the-scenes secrets, I'll help you turn your podcast into a traffic-driving, list-growing machine. Grab your earbuds, hit subscribe, and let's take your podcast to the next level. Hey friend, if you have been podcasting for a while, I'm talking a year, 2 years, maybe longer, you know who you are. You probably have a lot of episodes. It goes without saying, right? Maybe 200, 300, 600. I mean, it's so easy to have those types of numbers for how long podcasting has been around now. And yet most podcasters are still operating under this unspoken rule that once an episode is published, it's basically dead. Like, cool, that episode is out, on to the next one, always focusing ahead, right? And today I want to completely flip that mindset, because the truth is that your old podcast episode might be honestly some of the most valuable and underutilized assets and content in your business. Now, let me level with you, not all of them, right? I mean, we can all admit there's some episodes that were like, not the best, but I recorded it, we put it out there, it didn't perform, whatever. But I would venture to guess some of them are. They're still incredibly relevant, still incredibly helpful, and at the end of the day, still capable of driving downloads, leads, sales, if you know how to repurpose them strategically. So today, I want to walk you through the best ways to repurpose old podcast episodes in a way that actually supports growth and doesn't just fill the holes of instead of recording new stuff, like actually having intention behind it. All right, so let's just start with the basics of finding the gold in all of your 600 episodes or whatever it might be, right? So before we talk strategy, let's talk about selection. Not every old episode deserves a second life, and that's okay. I think a lot of us know that as we evolve and grow as a podcaster, things change and shift, and our audio sounds better and just all the things, right? Our content, we become better interviewers. We become more smooth at delivering our content and teaching and all the things. But here's what I really suggest looking at. So first of all, you can download all your metrics and start by looking at strong downloads. Now, what I will say about this is give yourself some grace with the downloads as well, because we also know that, before all the iOS updates and everything, downloads were through the roof. So they may be slightly skewed, but you can still use that as part of the guide, right? We can also look at episodes that continue to get traffic months later. This is such a great thing to look at. If you look at your, downloads in the last, 90 days, and you're noticing some of these old episodes are popping in there, pay attention to that. There's something to it. Also, episodes that have sparked DMs, replies, or emails. These are a great indicator that they really resonated. Now, one thing I will say, and this is just top of mind because I worked with a client on this morning, is so our audience feels close to us. So people who have been listening to our show, they do like more of the personal ones, and they're going to DM you about the personal topics and things like that. However, we also want to be mindful that at the end of the day, we want to nurture that relationship, and we also want to bring new people into our world, new listeners to our podcast. So sometimes repurposing those more personal ones that tended to get a lot of DMs might not be the best way to go, especially if you're targeting cold traffic with any of the strategies that we talk about today. But at the same time, there might be DMs about how you taught something. I tend to get a lot of DMs about my guest swapping strategy, and that's a great strategy. I taught, it's not personal at all. So I would definitely down the road repurpose that one. Okay, and then another thing, which we're going to dive into a little bit later, is episodes tied to a specific pain point or transformation. And these can kind of become your pillar episodes. So this is content that essentially you can start to look at as repurposing like fuel. So let's talk about repurposing strategy number 1, podcast bundles. So if you know me, you know this is one of my absolute favorite strategies. It works so well. But basically, you're going to create podcast bundles that group older episodes around either a specific pain point, a teaching angle, or a desired outcome. Instead of telling somebody, go listen to my podcast, you're actually saying, here's the exact episodes you need for this problem. And here's the cool thing is when you have 500 episodes, 600 episodes, 300, 100, whatever, it is hard to go through the back catalog, and it can be hard to go through and find these specific episodes for this specific thing, especially because most podcasters, myself included in the early days, weren't great at naming episodes. And so the episodes may be cheeky, or the title is cheeky or clever or something, and it doesn't actually say like this episode is about this, which can be really hard for somebody looking for a specific thing. So bundling those together, giving them to them in a playlist or a bundle is such a great idea because it solves our exact problem, especially for new listeners and getting new people into our audience. This is a great way to go about it. So here's some examples. You can just kind of to start the wheels turning in your head. So playlist bundle examples: grow your email list using your podcast, turn podcast listeners into buyers, podcast SEO foundation. So again, like, what if I have multiple episodes about SEO? I do have, I have one about SEO rich show notes, and I talk about keywords in some, and I talk about like taglines, and all of those can go into an SEO type like foundations playlist or bundle. So when it comes to these bundles, I personally love to give them away as a lead magnet, essentially for free, right? And so getting people into your world, onto your email list, but then also driving them to content that you already have. And so this is a great, great way to do it. And you can use it as a post on social with a trigger word, or you can use it as a pop-up on your website or a banner or a dynamic ad. Like, there's so many great ways to use this as a lead magnet and a lead gen. And the other thing I'll say is I've seen really great results with people using this on social media instead of like doing a reel or maybe like a clip of an episode, a specific episode. Instead, they do like B-roll and then promote this bundle, and it goes great. Okay, repurposing strategy number 2, refresh and release strong episodes. Okay, so I'm talking about if an episode's message is solid, like, this content is so good, it's so juicy, it's so good, but the sound quality isn't great, or your delivery, has just evolved, or the strategy just needs updating, I definitely recommend not scrapping it. What I would do is actually drop that into AI, refresh the structure, update examples, tighten the teaching, stuff like that, and then re-record it as a new and upgraded episode. This works so well for any episodes that might have foundational concepts that you teach, or like mindset shifts that you've evolved in teaching, or evergreen strategies, or even like episodes talking about your personal journey, or how you teach, or what you offer. Like, things like that are great for doing this strategy. So again, you can refresh and re-release episodes that are strong, but maybe didn't perform the way you hoped they would. All right, repurposing strategy number 3, playlists on listening platforms. So I personally I love this strategy, and it is that you can create playlists on something like Spotify. Now, Apple doesn't allow us to do this, which is womp, such a bummer, but Spotify does. And the cool thing is when you create a playlist and you name it something that has like a keyword in it, that can show up when somebody searches for a keyword. So super cool to do this. Really honestly, you can think about the playlist we talked about earlier. You can group your episodes by a theme, or your listeners through a journey, or a pain point, or a desire, or, maybe some things that reflect your offers or your funnels, things like that. And truly, truly hear me when I say this, like, if you are putting together podcast episode bundles to give away as lead magnets, just go over and create those bundles in Spotify as a playlist. This also works great if you happen to have a podcast-centric quiz with a personalized playlist. Make sure you make the playlist in Spotify. Like, these are all great and easy little things to do that honestly don't take long at all. And the cool thing about this is now you've given them a handful of episodes to listen to in Spotify about a specific thing. And that's going to boost retention. It's going to encourage binge listening and discoverability. So obviously, Spotify, as you can imagine, would love that. All right, let's talk about repurposing strategy number 4, podcast-centric quiz funnel. So this is definitely a big undertaking and one of the smartest ways to reuse old episodes. Now, why do I say it's a big undertaking? Because we are not going to go to AI, plug everything in and tell them, give me a podcast-centric quiz. It's going to miss every mark that's going to actually make it do well. That's why I like to teach this strategy. I like to teach this method. My method specifically stands out way above the rest. My clients, have huge quiz conversions. So great. Like one of my clients had 1,000 people take it in the first 24 hours. Like so great. But here's what's important. You want to create a quiz where each result maps to a specific listener type, right? It's definitely a more complex strategy, but I'll just give you like cliff notes. If you had not listened to episode 57, where I talked about my customer journey buckets, that's going to be really helpful for you, especially with this. But you basically want to include like a curated playlist for each customer bucket, each result. And of course, each playlist is going to pull from existing episodes because you need a backlog for these playlists. So the cool thing about this is that for my clients who have so many podcast episodes, it allows them to personalize the experience for somebody new coming into their world. And we are now curating their experience with our audio content. So they're not going to land on an episode that was kind of shitty or that we're not super proud of, or maybe it wasn't the best example of how we teach or something. But for some reason they clicked on it and it was like, again, we all have those that were like, oh, that was okay. It's not my best. But we can literally bundle our best episodes into a curated playlist for our quiz funnels. And then we promote it to cold traffic. They come in through the quiz, they get the podcast playlist, and boom, now you have a super fan. So I love this strategy. All right, strategy number 5, clip-based compilation episodes. So another wonderful option that you can do, and it definitely helps if you have a little bit of a team to support you, right? Whether you have a VA or a full-time person or a podcast manager or something like that that can help you with this, because it also takes a while. But pulling short clips from multiple old episodes that all support kind of one theme or one lesson, one desire, one pain point, whatever it might be. Lewis Howes does this because he has a ton of episodes. I want to say he has over 1,000 maybe, but he does this a lot. Like he'll do like a money mindset episode or like a relationship episode, and he'll have like 5 clips from past experts all compiled together in this episode. So you really just basically decide the theme, decide what episodes fit into that theme or that bundle, stitch them together. I wouldn't recommend adding like an intro or transitions just to make it feel, fresh and things like that. And then you release it as a new episode. I think it works so, so great. Again, it's nice to do this when you have somebody to kind of support you because it can take a while to kind of fish through the old content and find the gems, but it's so worth it. And of course, what I will say is AI can also be really, really great at helping with this. All right, strategy number 6. So refresh titles, descriptions, and SEO. Listen, I get it. Like sometimes the episode was so good, right? You go back and you look at episodes and you think, oh, I loved that episode. Why didn't it perform? Or gosh, why doesn't it still show up or this or that? So maybe we missed the mark with the title, which happens a lot. I feel like podcasters are finally evolving with their titles. Like we've moved away from the cheeky things that don't make sense, but they seemed cute and clever at the time. And we moved into like straight to the point, very clear keywords, all the things so that our listeners who are very busy and who also have a lot of other podcasts to compete with will come to the show, come to an episode, very clearly understand what it's about and click on it because it's exactly what they're looking for, right? On top of that, maybe our old descriptions weren't really keyword informed. So in that case, what you can start to do is start going through old episodes, update the episode title, rewrite the description, just improve the SEO overall. And then, of course, if you have like old CTAs that are outdated, sometimes it can be helpful to remove those. This is kind of a fun way to kind of quietly gain some traction in the back catalog or re-release an updated, episode that you've been wanting to. So it's cool because these little small tweaks can really go far. And I love this strategy. And what you can do is if you have a a VA who can help you with this, or you just say, I'm going to aim to update 2 or 2 to 5 every week or something. And so it's a cool way to do it. And I definitely recommend spending some time. All right, number 7, SEO and blog first repurposing. Okay, so you know that I'm a big fan of repurposing your episodes into SEO-rich blog posts. And so what can really be great is take a look at those analytics that we spoke about at the beginning and turn those like higher performing podcast episodes into new blog content. So what you'll do is you'll just take an older episode, you'll turn it into an SEO optimized blog post. AI is great for this. If you're in my programs, you probably have a template of what I recommend for SEO optimized blog show notes. You're going to update the headers, keywords, internal links, add strong CTAs that tie to your most recent offers, and then republish it as like a current blog post. So what I would do is definitely link to the episode in the blog post, maybe at the end or something, but it's a great way to get more traction to the topic. And if you're into tracking like traffic on your website, kind of just noticing what kind of traffic lands on that, how it performs. And then obviously that's data for you to know if that content was really resonated. And then maybe you do more podcast episodes off of that or something like that. All right, repurposing strategy number 8. So email first repurposing. So I love doing this as kind of like a monthly bonus email to your newsletter or to your email subscribers, where you bundle together episodes around a certain theme. So around Thanksgiving, maybe I'll do just like I'm so grateful, like this is my gratitude playlist. And then I'll put together a handful of episodes and just deliver them in an email. You can literally do like most listened to in insert year or whatever it might be, but just sending out like these emails that have just a handful of episodes in them that kind of give listeners and email subscribers a nudge to go check out the show. Maybe they missed an episode. They like the theme. You could even do like a Women's Health Month or something. Maybe you've had, female doctors or healers on your podcast and you can bundle together their interviews and then send it out in an email during that month or something like that. So lots of options to do this. And I just think it works great because it's also a great way to not only drive subscribers to your podcast, but also just use them in a way that is, repurposing. And that's what we're all about. Okay, I'm going to do one more. So 9. I know that feels weird. I feel like I should have one more, but here we are. Okay, I have mixed feelings about these, but I'm going to say them anyway. So paywalled playlists and private feeds. So when I worked for Kathy Haller, we had a really great conversation about how she has so many episodes and how we talked about like, should they all be public? Should they all be free? And, it's hard to say, but sometimes you can consider doing like a paywall playlist. Let's say that part of your business, now I'm thinking of Amy Porterfield, is list building. Well, she could potentially put together like her best or a handful of like email list building episodes where she's teaching or something like that and put it behind a paywall, like on Apple or something like that, or a private feed, and then potentially use that, right? Or you can use it as like a member only library. You can do it as a private playlist where you can like, have people opt in to get it. So there's like different ways to go about this. But I do feel like if you do choose to go down the route of like paywall, just make sure it's something people will pay for, right? So again, like if you're teaching to the point where, gosh, you look back at your episodes and you've got like 5 episodes that are basically like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 of something that's going to give them results, you could put that together in a paywall playlist and people would pay for it because it's going to get them results. Or maybe you have like 5 episodes of you doing meditations that are just like amazing. People will pay for that as well. So things you can definitely think about. And again, on the private feed, what you could potentially do, I've seen really work so well, is using something like Hello Audio and then uploading specific episodes to a private feed that you can use in certain things. So, okay. So that was a lot. I hope that a couple stood out to you and you don't have to do these all right away, right? Take what feels good, run with it, test it, and then come back and listen to this episode again and try something else. But what I really want you to know is that, having a big back catalog, I think a lot of people who have a big back catalog can attest to the power of it because there's so much SEO, there's so much leverage there. And it's okay to want to repurpose and be more intentional and know that you have great content that's kind of buried. And so, how do we resurface that? And I think that there's so much power in that. So, let's wrap this one up. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, please DM me. I usually hang out on Instagram and I like to do voice messages over there. So, come hang out with me there, Kylie J. Chandler. And I will see you in the next episode. I hope this was really powerful for you. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead, leave me a comment, and I will certainly get back to you.